Sorry. Sorry I'm late. Is this where the auditions are?
That's right, this is the place.
Right, and you are...
I'm the industry. And you are?
Oh, I'm Pamela Justice.
Great. Take a seat, put on the blindfold.
What?
Take a seat, put on the blindfold.
I'm here for the cop show. You know, you called me?
Yes, Pamela Justice. Now take a seat and put on the blindfold. Great, Pamela Justice. Welcome back to South Africa. This is, don't tell me. My mind is...
Okay, don't worry.
Rozanne.
Calm down.
Yes, it's Rozanne and...
Tema.
Yeah, also Ndie and Rozanne. This is Kgomotso. A director. Yes. You work on...
I did Scandal for 4 years.
Okay.
Yes, I'm doing Rhythm City now.
Oh, you did Scandal, now you're doing it.
Yes.
Oh, that's dope. The ladies from the side. Yes. So, what's that directing? Not even just like as a general question.
Well, I'd say a director, basically you that person who takes all these disciplines, all these talented people,
Right.
bring them together and create something beautiful.
That's cool. You enjoy it.
Yeah, we don't need to be talented. We just need those talented people.
I can argue with that, but you know, I actually think you have to be ready because you have to have the eye, right?
No, they have the eye. The camera guy does the framing, you know.
Together.
I don't know how to frame, I don't know how to light, I don't know how to act.
You just tell them, do
Not
it.
tell them.
You just
I
bring out
find
the
a
best
way
thing.
to bring them together. You know
But
what I mean?
that's a skill in itself, right?
That's a very humble brand.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
find a way.
Exactly.
So, what as a woman then specifically? Because I have friends that act, and some are male, and it's always the same story of what it's like to break into the industry. It's difficult. The cliche is it's challenging. Doors aren't open, whatever. Is it the same from a female perspective, or it's just the hustle?
Look, I'll tell you my experience. I came out of a film school and I didn't finish because I didn't have money.
Okay.
And I went to Sasani and I asked for an internship. So my job was to make directors coffee. And I made them coffee for a year and a half. And I guess it was that good because
Wow.
they started teaching.
Yes.
So a year and a half into it, I became a director. But the thing about it is, I was a director on paper, but the money wasn't the director's money
Oh.
for the full 4 years.
Yeah.
I literally got paid 4 times less
Wow.
what a director should get paid.
But
So
you're a director
that my
on
struggles were there. My struggle wasn't breaking in. I
Okay.
broke in because the talent was there.
Okay.
In my making coffee, somehow they saw the talent was there,
Gotcha.
but the money was never there. I left because of money, and they were never going to pay me because
Right.
they taught me.
Yes.
But I'm finding a different experience now at the new place, and that is I'm coming in as a director, and they don't know my history. So
Yeah.
I get paid what I should get paid. The only problem really I'd say is it's crew,
Yeah.
and that is because it's not because I'm a female, it's because I'm young.
Oh.
Yes, that's another dynamic, you know. You've got that camera guy who's been shooting for the past
Yes.
30 years, you know.
Yeah. You can't tell him anything.
He shot Generations when it started.
Yeah.
And I come through and I say, no, that is not a TMCU, you know. It's, those are the struggles, age really.
Wow.
But then you're going to ask that guy, well, why aren't you a director then? Why didn't
Yeah.
you take your 30 years of experience and
Right.
cross that
But
bridge?
then that would be you saying being a director is better than being a cameraman.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he stayed a cameraman because he's comfortable there.
Mm.
The only thing about it is he must know he's a cameraman. Directors will come and go. And the younger the director, the better the work, I believe.
It's true. And I hear you saying it's more about the age thing. But it's a biased opinion, but I'll hold it because I've seen what I've seen.
It's just my experience. I'm not saying it's a thing.
Yeah. For sure. But I would argue that, and you, ladies, you can jump in if I'm correct or wrong. I would argue that gender as well is in there, because I feel, and I've seen it from the perspective of a male. Yes, you may be younger, but the fact that you're female always comes in at some point. You know, I think there's this thing where it's easier to respect a young male.
I get
than a
what
young
you're saying.
female. Do you know what I mean?
When I was wanting to leave Scandal, I went to an executive producer of another company. She's a female.
Yeah.
That's her. So I went to her and I spoke to her on a human level because I knew her struggles. She was with Isitingo back in the day. And, you know, they wouldn't let her grow until she finally got her own soul. So I went to her and I told her I want to come with her. And she said she doesn't hire bitches. And I was like, ooh.
She said, wow.
She to you.
Yeah. What does that mean? She said, I do not work with females. I said, okay, thank you, man. But you were a director, you know, you started somewhere.
Yeah.
And you are female.
And she's female. And she felt, you know, she wasn't growing with Isitingo because she was female.
Right.
You know, they closed doors for, because there were a lot of females at Isitingo. Isitingo has a lot of female power.
Yeah.
You know, and they wouldn't let her in. And she left. But today she doesn't know to grow females, you know, which is a weird thing because she suffered that herself.
But then, you know, you pass it on the same thing.
And you would think kind of just automatically that there's this sisterhood, you know. Here's a female director coming in. Let's elevate her. Let's get her to the level that I'm at, so that there will be another one of me who can then have her own soap and then do that. But then often that struggle is there that women, because there are so few places for us, we want to hold our place there and we don't want to share. And how are we gonna get past that?
How are we ever going to grow? It's a weird thing.
Yes, because it is, and the whole thing of, we had this briefly before the cameras were rolling, about how a lot of the issues, they trickled, I don't want to just target them alone, but a lot of them, they trickled down to the production houses. So I want to get your take from the organization, Saga, your input on it. When we have a situation like that, where you have a female director, producer, casting director, whatever the case may be, that would not necessarily in the same ways, but I don't work with bitches, or I don't work with females, or whatever, you know, that sort of harassment from a female, not necessarily from a male now, because that's the expectation, like men would do that, they down you because you're female. But now when it happens from another female, like, is there legislation, a code of ethics, or whatever sort of guideline, basically, to kind of prevent or repel against something of that nature?
Yeah. So SAGA is an organization that obviously is set up for the protection of the actor and for the protection of the members of the guild. So SAGA's done a lot of work in terms of regulating certain things within the industry. So, for example, there's a code of conduct that SAGA came up with in conjunction with an organization called SWIFT, which is Sisters Working in Film and Television. And a few of the bigger production houses have included this code of conduct as an addendum to their contract. So there is a kind of acceptance of this is how things should be done, and this is how how things should work according to a piece of paper.
Yeah.
If people are going to take that piece of paper at face value, therein lies the rub. Tina,
Yeah.
do you want to add into
No,
that?
please continue.
Okay.
Finish off. Finish off.
Okay, yeah, because it's all well and good having a code of conduct and saying, please do not refer to your prospective employees as bitches, or
Right.
please have levels of respect for males and females working within the environment. But if people see there's a grey area, like someone's used the word bitch in an interview with me, or
Yeah.
or someone crossed the line, whether it be male or female, if the code of conduct is there and people are still not going to follow it, then what is the point of having a code of conduct there?
Yeah.
Where does that leave us?
It requires mutual respect on all parties.
Yeah.
It requires mutual involvement from all parties, victims and perpetrators. You know, it's a huge
Yeah.
responsibility, but most of all, coming from Saga, it's important that as actors, we stand together. We are unified in numbers. There's unity in strength. And until we as people realize that, then we're giving way for violence and harassment of all forms to be perpetuated. You know, we are basically saying, no, it's okay because you will get away with it, because the piece of paper is not going to come say, look, you left out number 7. What are you going to do about it? You know?
Yeah, for sure. And I do feel like the entire industry, or everybody basically perceives it in that way. It's a piece of paper. So what, like we were speaking, in order for Saga to back you and to be represented, you need to be a member.
Yeah.
So if I'm not a member, then what is Saga going to do to me? They're going to arrest me? Like, if I don't want to work with them,
If
do you know what I mean?
are not a member and
Yeah.
the person perpetrating the...
Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I do feel like a lot of the people in the industry, if I'm not part of any organization, 8 times out of 10, I'm not scared of any organization. And it's my production house. So we
Yes.
walk around with that, it's a private entity, it's my company.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be bragging everyone that I don't work with women. But if I don't want to work with women, I don't want to work with women. If I want to cast you based on how you look and the way you engage with me, and I've seen this, it really does happen. Even on screen, I think, I'm not going to speak for you, but there are a handful of people that I would see, and, well, the talent isn't there.
But something else is there, so.
Precisely.
You know,
So
yeah.
it's transparent in the product. Like you can see, okay, KG can't act, but she's very beautiful and attractive. So, you know, it's kind of like that blurred line. It's like we all know, but at the same time, it's now become the standard of the industry, which is what I think is a problem. And that's why I asked the question, then what do we do? Because we all know it happens. On all levels, whether you want to come from the broadcasters or the production houses or just like the individual directors, there are people that she gave it up.
Yeah.
I'm going to give her this role.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so when you come from a perspective of like KG, when you know you're talented and you're putting your work forward, it's that situation where you're now intimidated. Yeah, I don't like her attitude.
Yeah.
She's simply because she knows that she can do the work. She doesn't need to be whatever. You know, so the question, Lord, again, what then do we do?
I think there needs to be levels of engagement with the different role players within the industry, and it's going to take time. It's going to take time. Like if we look at the work that Saga's done with Swift, even coming up with this code of conduct was a big deal, is a big deal, because it might not be adopted by everyone, it might not be taken seriously by everyone, but the people that are enforcing it, they are taking a step in the right direction. If you look at, Saga works with the International Federation of Actors, which is called FIA, and Saga's part of a working group there that includes actors from, and actors' bodies from the UK, USA, Croatia, Denmark, Sweden, Switzerland, a bunch of countries, and South Africa we're right in there having these conversations with the internationals, because the issues that they face are the issues that we're facing as well. So you see people now having the courage to come out and say, well, this director said if I came to his hotel room late at night, then maybe I could do my audition for him and he would make a plan for me then to be that person that when you watch the screen you're like, but this person isn't that great. How did they get the role? So then that begs the question, if you're forcing someone, or if you're giving someone the opportunity to get work not on merit but on what can they do for you, that is crossing the line. And when that line is being crossed, SAGA as a body wants to make sure that our members know there is a certain procedure that they can follow and they have the backing behind them, like what Tema said about strength in numbers and getting that unity, that SAGA would be there to support someone who said, listen, this producer propositioned me and made me feel uncomfortable and I would like something to be done about it. Not like you're this lone person on an island and you feel so intimidated.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10 it is the people that are in power that are abusing their power to intimidate younger or people that they might perceive as weaker than them. And I'm saying people because it happens to women and men.
It also, there's a responsibility on witnesses as well to be part of the processes when they see injustices happening. You know, a lot of the time witnesses see these things and they keep quiet because they're also trying to watch their backs. They also know that my kids need to be fed at the end of the month. But I think it's completely unfair and unjust that innocent people get treated this way and probably are quiet due to shame, due to the threat of never working in this country again, never working in the industry again. But it happens all the time. And that's just part of the system, the bigger system of bullying, not only amongst colleagues, but also the higher power, where things like that happen and they go, come on guys, just get on with it. You know, so there's a responsibility on all parties to be aware. First of all, we all need to be aware, and that's a big part of what SAGA is doing, is create awareness that these things happen. And if you ever are in the situation, here is a guild that if you are a member of, can back you. And these are the protocols, these are the stages in which you can handle such a situation so that it doesn't go into gray areas, as she was mentioned. That when there is a specific protocol, when there is a code of conduct that producers and performers and other employees alike can agree to, then you are held to your word. You are held to your own integrity. You know, so you might have been that witness who saw something happen, but you think it didn't happen to me and I didn't commit it, so I don't have responsibility. No, you absolutely do. You do have a responsibility because you did sign your name and say, yes, I agree, yes, I understand. And therefore, we need to encourage one another that, listen, we got you, let's do this. Let's bring light into the darkness. So I think it's a personal responsibility, not so much a policing. We're not a policing forum. I wish there was a security guard to say, hey, they did something wrong, report, but we're not. So there's sole responsibility on everyone to play their part.
I agree, but I'm going to play devil's advocate simply because there are so many people, and we know SAGA and SWIFT, and they exist and they do a great job. But somehow there's always someone at the bottom of the totem pole who's just coming in, and it's her first acting role, or his first acting role, since we've established it happens to both genders. I'm just coming in, I've got this role, I've been at it for X amount of years, and this director, this producer is coming at me in a way I'm not really comfortable with. And I just got the job, right? So whether we say I'm a SAGA member or not, but this happens, and my bottom line is, I need this check. So I want to take action. I'm with it. I really don't like what's happening, but I need this check. So say, let's scenario A, I go to SAGA and I report the issue. This is what happened. Director X or producer X did this and da-da-da-da-da. In the interim where that whole case now is being investigated or opened or whatever the procedure is, what is happening with me? Do I still keep my job and I'm working and I'm getting paid? Or do I lose my job? And if so,
does then the organization help in any way? Do they protect me from being fired, having had reported that individual? Or is it a question of the current job I could lose it, I could get it, it's up to the producer, the production house, but the issue in its larger existence is going to be addressed?
Well, I think from a legal standpoint, like if you have fulfilled all the requirements of your contract and you've performed your job as to the best of your ability,
Yeah.
and there's no grounds for you to be suspended or fired or whatever pending this investigation, you would continue to do your job. But if you've approached Saga and you've gone through a process of what is my next step, and you've approached the guild will then, in consultation with you, figure out how to navigate the situation that you find yourself in. And aside from whatever harassment has been done against you, there cannot be a threat of you being fired hanging over your head. And I know that often the case is that people will make it so uncomfortable for you that you want to leave. That you just like, you know what, I'm not going to be in this environment where I'm being harassed. And now, on top of the harassment that I suffered to begin with, I'm now being harassed, either intimidated to drop what I'm doing and say, oh no, it was just a misunderstanding, it's fine, let's sweep it under the carpet.
Yeah.
Like, where people then go out of their way to make the environment hostile enough for you to
You just want to
resign.
be on your own. Yeah.
That is a whole nother level of harassment. So I think when you have taken whatever your grievance is to a body like Saga, if you are a member, and that's what comes with young actors starting out, is that's why it's so important to be a member of Saga, because you're not a lone wolf trying to fight this battle on your own, that there are people who can guide you through the process. And that's why organizations like Swift are also great. I know that it sounds a lot like it's just things that are on paper, but I mean, Swift did a big campaign earlier this year with some PSAs, some public service announcements about detailing sexual harassment of cases that had been reported to Swift. So they reenacted them and put them online so that people could see that these are the kind of things that have happened in the industry.
Yeah.
And watching these, it's so uncomfortable. So can you imagine what it must have been like for the people that actually lived through this experience, then to be able to say to Swift, this is my story, you can use it as a PSA. And I think creating that kind of awareness is the first step in getting people to know that they aren't alone. And that if you do feel, I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to it's very, very easy for me to say this, but just to keep going and to know that if a process is followed, the perpetrators will be reckoned with.
Yeah.
I also just think the secret lies in naming, shaming these guys. I'll give you a practical example. If you watch a show, if you watch Mubang,
Yes.
you can tell what the man is about. I swear the camera cut says full shot S, pen S, we see it in picture. And so it's not even behind closed doors. It's not the man saying, give me this. It's in picture. It's in story that we watch. You can see on the show, it's about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Queen as well. It's about beauty, and we need to start there. We need to start with the things that we see. It's on screen, they've shot it. We need to call Duma out, we need to call Shona out, for the simple choices that they made, the things that we see on screen. Not even the things that happen behind closed doors,
Gotcha.
You can tell watching Mubango that, people are casted based on certain things, and they show us those things because, they were casted for their things, and they show us those things because they bring in the money.
Right.
So
right.
The secret for me, it would be, let's start with him. Let's call out the man and
Yeah.
ask him, why does his camera cut look like this?
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that. And I'm with you. But being that it's the industry that it is, creative and really subjective, if I'm a filmmaker or a director or a writer, and you came at me with that argument, and I responded by saying, well, no, it's not because it's purely because she looks sexy or whatever, but the story that I'm telling, I'm speaking for a.
The question would be, are you doing that on 3 channels? He's got shows on all 3 channels, and those are the only channels we have.
Yes.
The secret to this is to open the industry a bit more.
Yes.
If they gave me a show, it wouldn't be that. It wouldn't be based on that. But if you keep giving that man shows, I mean, that will be the narrative of the industry. It's the same people who get commissioned. Of course, the stories are going to be the same. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that, then I want to then just again go back to our initial. Is it then not that much scarier? Say someone who is in that position where they have that much influence within the industry that their reach transcends a specific channel, right? No, I mean from the perspective of the victim. Like if I'm coming in and someone who does wrong by me has influence in SABC and so.
That is why I'm saying you need to call out that person. Because it's only one person, you get what I mean? It's only one person on all 3 channels.
But yes.
We call out that
but
man.
who are you? Then you, as I'm coming in, right? I'm unknown. That it is one person. But
That is why I'm
one.
saying it's not the responsibility of an actor. Least of all an actor who's just coming in. It's the responsibility of someone like me who can see on TV that this is wrong.
Yes.
On all his 3 shows, across all 3 channels,
Yes.
it's the same thing.
Right.
And so the narrative won't change. Women will be, they will be casted based on that and a lot of transitions that they have to go through before, it will be that. Because that is the nature of it. And it's not the nature of the industry. It's just the man who's holding the industry right now. It's not the nature of the industry. I refuse to believe that.
Yeah.
It's him. It's how he thinks. S sells for him. And so he's going to put it across all 3 channels.
Right. Okay. I'm going to throw in that sock again, and I'm going to connect it to this. What then happens, I only ask because I don't know. Has there been, is there, or will there be, for lack of a better term, a campaign or whatever, or an initiative to address the specific instance where, like KG said, it's the responsibility of you who sees it, and you touched on as well, as the witness, you have a responsibility to speak out on it. However, there are situations where even a female, a male too, but even a female would see it, and if you maybe are blacklisted for not wanting to act in a certain way, the industry can move comfortably knowing that if you don't want to take that role, I know she will. For every role as an actor, as a director, as a writer that you turn down because you have a moral standpoint,
Yeah.
I can get 5 more like you, so you can move aside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, what are we then doing to address that?
That's what I kind of keep coming back to, is about this strength in numbers. So let's say, for instance, let's leave the harassment at the door, and let's say there's a producer who's known for paying substandard rates and for not treating their cast according to what contracts stipulate.
Yes.
And let's say I'm now a SAGA member and I know I deserve better, and I know that these rates are not right, and the working environment isn't great. So I now say, listen, this is not what the contract says. I don't want to do this job. The producer will turn around and say, there are 17,000 newly graduated people who will do this job. What we need to do is we need to standardize things, and that's why we do need more people to join SAGA, so that when people or producers are working with or employing SAGA members on their productions, all those SAGA members should know what they are willing to stand for and what they are not willing to stand for. Because then if only 2 people in a production are SAGA members and the other 17 are not, those 2 people are quickly replaced. But if all 19 people are SAGA members and we say, listen, this is not going to go further than this, that producer's hands are tied. So you've got to maybe even get to a point like what they have in America, and you know, we're always like, oh, America, the land of the Holy Grail. But that's not why I'm trying to make this point. But we get to the point where you cannot be employed on a job in America as an actor if you do not have Screen Actors Guild accreditation. If you don't have equity, or it's called equity in the UK, if you are not equity, we don't employ you. And within those contracts, there's a certain minimum level of expectation from the producer and from the actor taking that job. So there is strength in numbers because all of them are part of that guild. So the strength in numbers will help that, and will also get the awareness out to your young person starting out and thinking, oh well, this is an amazing job, when it actually isn't.
Yeah.
So if we can get more people aware of what their rights are, because that's ideally
Exactly.
what Saga is here to do, is to protect the rights of the actor, which is very, very often actors are exploited because of the way that this industry is set up. You don't know where your next gig is going to come from. So you don't want to ruffle the feathers when things are not right. But when things are not right, you must know there's someone in your corner to fight for you and to make sure that contracts are adhered to and that promises that were made are delivered upon.
Also, when you know your rights, you can ruffle feathers.
Yeah.
You can challenge someone who's undergrading authority or undergrading a specific law or a regulation. You know, you can put that to challenge. When you have the backing of Saga to say, yes, in actual fact, you are manipulating or you are taking advantage or breaking the rules, that is what Saga is there for you, therefore, to protect you and to back you and say, yes, you're absolutely right, and you have the right to stand on that.
Yeah.
And if a producer knows that you know your rights, they will mess with you. Do you know what I mean? And so you know, and if all of us actors, whether experienced veterans or rookies who just come out of varsity, know their rights, then there's very little place for manipulation and abuse.
And that's our responsibility, I believe.
Yes,
as actors.
exactly that.
Know what your rights are. Read your contract.
Understand
your contract.
We saw a whole cast being fired. We saw a show go on a standstill, and this man hired a whole new cast, and he continued as nothing happened.
Unity in numbers
It-
comes back to exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They all left.
They all
He
left,
casted.
and they didn't.
The show
have-
stood again.
They all left, and on this show, nobody of that group that left that show was a member of Saga.
Oh, right.
Not one person.
Right.
Yeah.
Then, what happened there, and this is also another thing that it comes down to, is that they then decided to approach labor.
Okay.
But as an actor, our status is very much up in the air because we are not employees. So you can't approach labor. We are independent contractors. So we are bound by the contract that we signed. And if you didn't read it, and if you didn't understand it, and you didn't know what your rights are,
You're gonna be exploited.
that's when you're going to be exploited. People are going to put your image all over Pan-Africa, and you're not going to get any usage out of it because you signed a contract that said in perpetuity, I don't care about my usage, because you didn't understand it. So that is not a defense to say, oh, well, I didn't understand. You signed it.
Yeah.
So, and in that event, if it was a whole bunch of Saga members, I think that would have turned out a lot differently. I'm not saying that he wouldn't have recast the show and started a whole thing 10 years in the future or whatever it was.
But you know, yes, I that in its own, I think, is a problem that we just cannot. The fact that you can even do that, whether
Yeah,
right
it's-
or
I just feel like
like
it's too much power
yes,
for one man.
It is
It's
for
too
any
much.
individual. And again, then I'll throw back the question: then how do we raise that? Like, what are an actor's rights? Like, if I leave right now, do I just Google rights of an actor? And stuff? Like, I don't even, because of the nature and the structure of the industry, it's so different and unique, and it's not cut and dry like a teacher or
Yeah.
a doctor. So then what are my rights when I get to a set? Do I get my own trailer? Do I get driven to and from set? Like,
Yeah.
where do I get that? Before we even speak of, okay, I'm a member or I'm not, but like what, because I'm in schools, then they don't even give that information. So
That's
where,
the thing.
where does, I'm coming into this industry, I want to be a writer, I want to be a director, I want to be a producer, I want to be an actor. But like when you speak about rights and an actor, like it's like, what rights do I have as an actor? And the industry reciprocates that energy. They treat me and you don't have any rights. Your rights are what we tell you they are. You know. So how do we find them? What are an actor's rights? Where do you, that information before we go, okay, I know my rights and this body represents these rights, and so I'm going to be a member and I'm going to align myself with this. But that information, how do we then disperse that to people coming in, and maybe those few that are within, but they have no idea. They just know I'm in front of the camera, and when they say action, I read these lines and I get my check.
I think there has to be, like you mentioned, does it come from schools? Does it come from where people are studying? And I think that is a very important bridge between you're studying acting, or you're studying writing or directing, and then when you are actually doing that, what are you expected to do? What is a call time? What is how much of my, what is a call sheet? Who must I go to? When can I cut my hair? When can I dye my hair? When can I, just like random things that I don't think are taught. Those are part of what you need to know as an actor, and part of your rights as an actor, because this is your image. So something like a channel selling a show, a production house selling reruns of a show to a channel, like with the SABC. The SABC contract was came about in 1997, the standard SABC actors contract. And it didn't make any provisions really for renewals and reruns. So you have actors who are on shows that are sold overseas, that are sold to pay channels. And these actors are dying in poverty because they're not making residuals. There's no way of them knowing it is my right. If you are selling my image, I should be getting something. So that is a very, very good question, and I at this point don't have the answer for it, except that we start as early as possible in someone's professional career to tell them what their rights are. And I think that is where Saga plays a role. So you join Saga immediately, and if you have any questions, you would get in touch with Saga and go, what are my rights as an actor? And for us, that is a major thing that we want to get out, is to create awareness of what we are as an organization, and also to let actors know that you do have rights. You might be in like a weird kind of limbo in terms of labor. We can't strike. We can't. That's the other thing. Those other from that show, they wanted to strike. If you are an independent contractor, you can't strike, because if you don't work, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that we do need to get out there as an organization, as Saga, and letting the actor know what their rights are is I think the first port of call. If it's not being taught, it should maybe be part of a semester course in your third year, or in your, do you know what I'm saying? So so just to bridge the gap, because people do graduate and then what? Now I'm working, but I didn't have the knowledge about my tax. I didn't have the knowledge of how to read a contract, or how to get it, how long I can intern for to make coffee, or even how to get an agent. There's people that go and they pay people 3,000 Rand or 3,500 Rand to sign up with an agent. You don't sign up with a reputable agent. You go, and that agent makes money when you make money for yourself, they take their commission. But a lot of people that are entering the industry think, oh, let me pay this agent a sign-up fee and they will give me work, and then they never hear from the people again. So it's those kinds of questions that we as a body are here to provide the answers to for our members, and that's why we're trying to get as many people who are active in the industry to join, so that they know when they are being taken advantage of and what they can do about it.
And help others along the way.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'll ask, and because I like practical, even in example. So let's try this. Let's say KG is on set. She's a director, and there's a female cast member that gets played, basically. She gets exploited for a role or whatever the case is, And so she takes that case to Saga. Now, Saga's involvement in that particular instance, is it from we're here to support you and with exposure and our resources? Is it from we'll help you with the legal fees? Is it we'll help you find another job should you no longer want to work in this production? Is it we're trying to get this particular individual, the offender, off the production or get them to jail? What is exactly the organization's involvement in it? So if it happens to me and I do come there, is it just a question where I've got Saga behind me, but all of the heat is basically on me, financial and all of that? Or do you come in with, okay, we'll help with this, we'll give you A, B, and C, we'll do da-da-da-da-da?
Yeah. So Saga does have we have a legal chair. So if, let's say, I had an issue that needed some kind of legal intervention, I would then approach Saga as being a member. I would approach Saga, and the legal team would not weigh up the merits of the case, would see where they are able to help. Saga then is a member of a broader trade union organization, even though we are a guild, not a union, called UASA. And UASA has got members, over 250,000 members. So the power of UASA then transfers basically as to having even more of a backing than what Saga has. So if it is a legal thing that cannot be resolved with not arbitration, but with mediation between the partners. So if something has happened to me and I need to get this person on the set and nobody else is listening to me, Saga then comes in and is the weight that I need behind me. So Saga would help with the case that I would have. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they would, particularly from a legal standpoint.
Yes.
Do I then have to pay for those legal fees, or is that all included in my monthly?
So at the moment, it's a bit of a grey area, and I don't know if I can discuss this, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So at the moment, it is a bit of a grey area that we are currently resolving with UASA.
Okay.
Because when it started, UASA is labor, obviously. So because of this weird status of the actor being an independent contractor and UASA being a labor organization, we are finding the right wording and the right kind of point of departure for Saga members within the UASA stable. So to answer that question, at this point, Saga and UASA, there were meetings 2 weeks ago where they are figuring out that relationship so that it can be in black and white. But I mean, I can speak from personal experience. I've had a few tax issues, and it's happened 3 times to me, where a channel has employed me to do work for them, but like kind of live work, so MCing or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they were taxing me as an employee of the company instead of as an independent contractor. So your code is different, and then you can't claim deductions like things like getting a haircut or whatever, things that we need to maintain this so that we can do the job that we have. And they refused to change it. And I asked and asked and asked, and then I got Saga involved. I said, listen, I'm not going to deal with this anymore. I'm not going to deal with it on a personal level. You can now speak directly to my union.
Sure.
And within 2 or 3 days, based on what the Saga legal team, based on their interaction with this channel, it was changed. But me on my own, they were putting me through to the highest people in the finance department who say, no, we're not changing it. And then after I approached Saga and said, please, can you handle this for me because they don't want to do as I've asked, it was dealt with. So
there is strength in numbers, and Saga does have the power to take on the big guys when you feel like the little guy, when they just say no, we're not going to do that, or we're not going to change our behavior, or we're not changing our contract, or whatever the case may be. So there is a power there. We just still have to figure out legally exactly what that is.
Right. Okay. So, see if we can fold it now on the whole issue of the exploitation, specifically on women, because we did speak before that it happens to both genders, but somehow it's a bit heavy on the female side than it is on the male. Then what are we saying we need to do? Yes, strength in numbers. Everybody has a responsibility, whether you're the victim or the witness or whatever the case is. But everybody has to speak out. Everybody has to get involved in the solution. We're saying, know your rights. Join organizations like Saga and so on and so forth and so. Is that then our game plan, if I may, in moving forward as an industry? Like this is what we need to do to solve this problem. Because I think it's important, the dialogue is important and it's cool and it's nice to have, but essentially from there on we need a step. Like, what are we doing? Okay, we've spoken of this exists, but it's not always easy or accessible for the young lady who's just coming in, or the young man who's just coming in, to know exactly, okay, this is how I'm doing it. If this happens to me tomorrow, I already know that I have a defense, this is my move. So our solutions in practical sense, in like really moving forward, and what are we saying? Is that what we are putting on the table as a solution to our industry's way of doing business?
I've spoken a lot. Ladies.
KG has.
I say call them out, nigga.
Call them
We
out.
see the problem, we recognize it.
Yeah.
Let's call them out.
Let's call them out.
By name. You know?
The repercussion. I agree with
That's the
I
thing.
agree with you 100%.
That's
By the
the
way,
thing.
but that's just the unfortunate thing is that it's not easy for someone who's experiencing it to say no, call them out. Like, we need you to call them out before we even take the next
Yeah,
step.
it has to be.
Do you know what I mean?
I've seen the problem at Lubango.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I must call him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see,
It's
I'm too small for it. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm too small for it.
Yeah.
Then Mnet or ETV will never commission me because I want to have my own show. You know, and this is the daddy of shows. So we must do this even when he's messing up.
That's the glitch,
But
isn't it?
the secret is in calling him out. We have to call the man out. Because what it is it will be his directors who do that because they're learning from daddy.
Right.
You know, that is the man to call out.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we see it on screen.
So we'll face the repercussions later. And why, just to pause, why I say I agree with you, the last conversation we had with one of the actors was simply that because of the way that the industry is working, it's cool. Then you carry on doing it, but we'll start our own code. Like we'll actually do it the way it needs to be done, and it borrows from what you said in strength in numbers. Then as a creative community, when the rights director, everybody basically involved in the production, then we come together because we're all on the receiving end of this thing. So, cool, they'll carry on with their practices. We step aside and we do this thing for ourselves, simply because history has shown us that the agenda and the interest of those institutions are not the same interest as the creative individuals. So, I agree with you, yes, call them out, and there'll be that backlash naturally, might get blackballed and so on and so forth, but the idea is unity and the strength in numbers. Then they won't do for us, so we do for self, as a community, as a creative collective, basically. So you're saying we do that, call them out, and we
And
carry
we
on.
become a different industry. They die, they old. That's,
Yeah, that's the truth.
You know what I mean? They old. And I think also they're so pompous in it because it was only a few of them.
Right.
Only a few black men. I'd say two who
Yeah.
actually had shows standing.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I could understand to a certain extent why they like that. I mean, it's huge what they have, and it's just two of them.
Yeah.
But we need to be different in that we have to multiply. The industry needs to grow a lot bigger. It's too small. It's too small. We can't have 3 broadcasters run by 2 black men. That is just weird. Of course, they're going to exploit us.
Right.
So the secret is in growing it so that they don't have so much power. It's too much.